So I think we'll begin. Wishing everyone a very good evening, and we welcome you to our Jewish Music Masterclass. As they say in Hebrew, Acharon, Acharon Chaviv, the last is the dearest, or the last is the sweetest. We're sorry that we were not able to have our presentation 2 weeks ago, but due to the current climate and the Blackout Tuesday and being supportive of things in our society and community, we felt it was best not to have our session 2 weeks ago. So tonight I'm delighted to have the great pleasure of introducing Cantor Benjie Ellen Schiller, who's the last of our 8-week series in our Jewish Music Masterclass. Cantor Benjie Ellen Schiller is a cantor who's on the faculty teaching cantorial arts at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in the Deputy Friedman School of Sacred Music. She not only is a leading cantor, but also a composer and a performer. And Benjie is known in many different circles in the Jewish world. And the only last thing I can say is I had the great opportunity of being Cantor Benjie Ellen Schiller's colleague for 20 years when I taught at Hebrew Union College. And it's just such a wonderful opportunity to welcome you, Benjie. And I'm only sorry that we don't have more opportunities to get together, but we so look forward to your music and your teaching, and we're all ears.
Mark, thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. What a zechut, a privilege for me to get this time to share some of my compositions and also share with you some of the background that went into writing these pieces. It feels like it's sharing part of my life, a deep, meaningful, one of the most meaningful parts of my life with all of you. So thank you for being here. The format, I'm going to present for something around 45 minutes or so, and then we'll open up the mics for anyone who would like to comment, ask a question, and we'll have a little bit of a dialogue. So I look forward to that very much. We're going to begin with, I want to share with you my first published piece, the one that got me started in writing liturgical music. It's a setting of the final Psalm, Psalm 150, and I wrote this piece in 1982, 1982, a long time ago, while living in Israel for my husband Les's first year of rabbinical school. Living in Israel, I was entranced by the sounds I heard, specifically in Jerusalem, emanating from a window of an apartment on a typical Shabbos afternoon while family and friends sat at their tables, or the sounds coming out of a window of a mosque or a church in the old city, or the music from the Israeli Arab radio stations, the rhythms, the modalities, the spirit. All of that was so mesmerizing for me. As a New York Ashkenazi Jew, my impression of what constituted Jewish music was forever changed. The words of Psalm 150 came to my mind and took on a new meaning. Let all who have breath shout out praise. Kol haneshama tahallel. Shofar, timbrel, tov, dance, cymbals. In other words, whatever the medium, all are invited to join in. It's an image of the multiplicity and richness of our voices, all singing, all dancing, proclaiming the glory and wonder of creation. So here is my setting, performed by the Boston Azamrah Choral just a few years ago. You will hear me on the solo line, Psalm 150, Halleluhu.
Hallelujah.
A little bit of distortion in the sound. I know, Laura, you said something in the chat about the fact we're working out the sound. Most of it was pretty good, so thank you for working on that. I know these medium are hard. It's hard to put it all together without distortion. So thank you. That was Halleluhu, and I want to share with all of you that I wrote this piece for Beget Kefet, a singing group of rabbinical and soon-to-be cantorial students, some of whom are on this Zoom conversation this evening. We wrote and performed our music beginning in Israel with guitars, toph, lots of harmony, and returned to the States, eventually forming a tzedakah collective along with our singing. And I'm proud to share that as part of my compositional experience, writing for my dear, dear friends. Soon after our year in Jerusalem, I entered the Cantorial School of Hebrew Union College. And for my thesis, I composed a suite of 8 pieces entitled Life Song Cycle. These are art songs, duets, and choral pieces designed to commemorate moments within the Jewish life cycle. A baby naming, a bar or bat mitzvah, a wedding, a conversion, anniversary, the dedication of a house or a synagogue, a funeral. I'm going to perform for you now the first piece in that collection, entitled One Generation Goes. The text is from Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, with my own words interspersed. It speaks about the phenomenon of time passing in one's life. And I wrote the piece when anticipating returning to a summer camp for a reunion, a place that had been life-changing for me as a teenager and a young adult. I imagined standing looking out at the lake I stared at for hours and hours, now decades later, and reliving all that I had learned and experienced right at that same place so many years before. Isn't it strange to feel the passing of time, says the song. In the blink of an eye, we were here once before. Here is Ecclesiastes' response to the idea, describing the ever-present passing of time. One generation goes, another comes, but the earth remains the same forever. In these one-time moments in our lives, like a reunion, an anniversary, the birth of a child, the loss of someone we love, we somehow step back and get a glimpse of life from a fuller perspective. So in this piece, you'll hear a steady motif that might suggest the ticking of a clock, the ongoing, somewhat predictable progression of minutes, days, and years, superimposed by an occasional crescendo, a swelling of energy, representing the unexpected, the dramatic, the surprising moments that often define our lives. So here is One Generation Goes. Isn't it strange to feel the past passing of time, in the blink of an eye, we were here once before. Wasn't it yesterday we fashioned our lives on a dream, on a dream? One generation goes, another comes, but the earth remains the same forever. The sun rises, the sun sets, the streams flow back into the sea, to the place from which they flow. The streams flow back again. So here we gather, like children once more, holding on to this moment for a lifetime. Timeless together in the memory we share of a dream, of a dream. One generation goes, another comes, but the earth remains the same forever. The sun rises, the sun sets, the streams flow back into the sea, to the place from which they flow. The streams flow back There certainly are moments in our lives that stand out. We're actually living through one of those moments in a protracted way right now. These past 3 months are unfortunately a perfect example of a memory that stays, and God willing will stay with us when we're out of this period. And the next piece I'd like to share is one I composed in response to another unforgettable, unique, and devastating moment in time, 9/11. In early October of 2001, the conductor of the New York Azamrah Choral, Mati Lazar, commissioned me to write an American Jewish response to September 11th. He was thinking ahead to the Zamir Hanukkah concert for that December of 2001. And he realized that he needed to include something with a message of hope, a rallying cry for justice for that audience, finding both an American and a Jewish voice to express a sentiment of hope would be moving and uplifting and necessary. His idea of a text is the one that's written on the Liberty Bell, from Leviticus 25:10, about the Jubilee year, when slaves are released and land sales are returned. Proclaim liberty throughout the land. Ukratem dror ba'aretz. What a rallying cry for justice. I added the text from Amos, chapter 5, verse 24. And we know this text from Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Justice shall roll down like the waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. So here's the third and final movement of this work that I wrote for that Hanukkah concert in December 2001. This is the reward, the destination of promise and hope at the end of the piece. You'll hear an uplifting, lively tempo with a bright sound, a bit of a call and response from soloists to choir. And when we really get rolling, you'll hear a bit of a gospel feel with some improvising by the soloist on top of a vamp by the choir with hands clapping. And this section goes on for a good couple of minutes before the piece concludes. And this particular recording was made just a few years ago by the Choral. And you'll hear me on the solo line, Ukraten Dror Ba'aretz, proclaim liberty throughout the land.
All its inhabitants.
The applause makes it so exciting. Dr. Abba Borovich, longtime beloved choral singer in the New York Jewish musical family, developed cancer in late middle age. He endured months of chemotherapy, living with a dire prognosis of survival throughout the ordeal. The text he recited in his daily davening that became his call for help from the darkness and pain he was experiencing was Psalm 130. Mi ma'amakim, out of the depths I call to you. He said that several times a day. And by some miracle, he pulled through and survived. And upon being declared cancer-free, he asked me to compose a choral setting of the words he so loved for his choir. So this is the next song you will hear, Mi Ma'amakim, Out of the Depths, and it is a cappella, no accompanying instruments. And you'll hear passages of chant, moments of melody, rich harmony, and I'd like you to imagine the lone voice of the psalmist calling out in pain, and the choir responding as an echo of the sadness, but also as a voice of comfort, of solace, of love. The psalm begins with the words Shir HaMa'alot, a song of ascent, of going up. You'll hear a pattern of ascending notes, striving upwards from the depths, one difficult step at a time, then retreating back, then climbing once again, this time with a little more energy, and then back again. And as we play this recording, Mark will display the words of the psalm on the screen. Out of the depths, Mi Ma'amakim. I think of the pain and heartache of so many, and how this psalm speaks to that. Moving on, I'd like to share now one of my most recent compositions. I compose it in memory of my brother, Steve Schiller, who died a year and a half ago at the age of 58. The text, Mi Ha'ish, from Psalm 34, speaks of heroic qualities of a person: loving life, doing good in the world, steering away from evil, seeking peace, and pursuing it. In this piece, I wanted to capture through the words and the music some of the life force of my brother. His goodness, his zest for life, his stubborn persistence, and his loving kindness. You'll hear a driving melody, moments of playfulness and joy, then a pulsating rawness with almost an angry quality, then back to joy. Perhaps you'll feel some of the vitality, the humor, the relentless pursuit of goodness and fairness that was and will always be my brother, even when in the face of debilitating illness. Here's a YouTube of the premiere performance of the piece at the North American Jewish Choral Festival this past summer, when we were able to congregate together. The choir you will see and hear learned this piece in just 3 days. You'll see me at the piano. Mi Ha'ish, who is that one?
Thank you.
the members of that choir are here with us. Leon and Lori. There might be others, but Lori, I saw you dancing to the beat. That was great. Before I share one more piece, I want to thank Lori, Dr. Lori Black, and Dr. Mark Kligman for the invitation to be here, and for all of your support in making this program happen tonight and throughout all the master classes that you did. We are in your debt. And thank you to Beth for all your support and assistance too. It's really been a wonderful journey for my husband and myself. We've loved these classes. So my last piece. As a cantor, I've had opportunities to write wedding pieces for dear friends and family members, and I've had the privilege of singing to the couple underneath the chuppah. Months before the wedding, I asked the couple to think about a text, a poem, perhaps something from Song of Songs, something from the Torah portion of the week of their wedding, words that could be their leitmotif, their theme for their relationship at this point. Here is one of those wedding pieces, and the text is from Song of Songs, chapter 5, verse 2. Ani yeshena, v'libi er. I was asleep, but my heart was awake. Kol dodi dofek. The voice of my beloved, it called, it knocked. Pitchi li, let me in, my lover, my friend, my faultless dove, for my head is drenched with dew, my locks with the damp of the night. The recording I'd like to share is from my CD, A World Fulfilled, which I made in 2002. And I wrote this piece for the wedding of Rabbi Angela Warnick Buchdahl and Jacob Buchdahl. Pitchi li, let me in, my lover, my own.
Asleep, but my heart was wakeful, and the voice of my beloved you called. Let me in, my lover, my own. my friend must die, for my head is drenched with dew, my lungs with the damp of the
Thank all of you for listening, for being here. And now's the time to open up the conversation, questions. I didn't see any questions in the chat, but maybe there have been some since last I looked. Please feel free to ask. And one more person to thank, and that's my husband Les, who's sitting right here, who set up the camera, who has supported me in all this composing over the many years that we've been together, 39 years of marriage as of this week. So I thank you. So.
Thank you so much, Benji. Really lovely to hear your music, hear your words, and everything that you shared.
Yeah,
It's a male thing.
So we are open if anyone would like to post a question or ask a question. And look like Ricky Lippitz is asking a question. Ricky, would you like to ask it yourself?
Sure. Benji, always a joy. Amazing. You lifted us out of all this reality and put us into an exquisite place. So I'm curious to know if you've been inspired by anything recently, whether hopeful, assertive, outraged, peaceful. Is there any text that is moving you now to write, or are you writing your own text?
The piece I just wrote, I'm still working on it, is Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi, the soul that you have given me, oh God, is pure. It's hard for me to put into words and concretize why that particular prayer means something to me right now. But I'm thinking of the life force of all of us and missing the contact of that life force in person, the energy, the spontaneity, the beauty of it. In our services at Beit Shalom, in my life at HUC, with my family, with my friends. It's something about the eternal sense of the soul that was given to each of us. And that even this powerful virus, which is mystifying us all, and even all the political struggles and the cultural struggles we're going through. Something about returning to a sense of the fact that we are created in the image of something sacred, and that each of us is created in that image, in that beautiful, sacred image. That's one that I can think of at the moment, Ricky. Thank you for asking.
I think the overwhelming consensus is your music is so beautiful and people just want to hear more.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other
So
questions?
if anyone else has any questions, well, I think Ricky
I would
Lippett's
like to
not
say
allowed.
that the music is beautiful, but the voice is gorgeous also.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can I ask a question?
Anything
Sure,
about
is that Gordon?
Yes, it is. Hi, Benji. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for doing this, for sharing with us tonight. I was wondering if you could tell us anything about your use of meter changing so frequently throughout many of the pieces, your uses of polyrhythm that just keep things so interesting and moving constantly. So I was wondering if you can share with us your kind of philosophy with that, and are there any tricks that you like to use in your compositions to keep it so exciting as the music it kind of keeps changing and surprising us?
This is one educated crowd. So the first question came from Cantor Ricky Lippitz, and this from Dr. Gordon Dale. Gordon and I are colleagues at the Hebrew Union College, Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music. He's a brilliant ethnomusicologist, and I just love working with him. And between you and Mark, you've opened up worlds for me about music. Thank you for that question. The first thing I have to say about rhythm is, for me, the most important aspect of my writing vocal music is to let the words speak, to allow the words to have not just the pronunciation, but also the energy, the life force that I feel and hear in the words. So, Halleluhu b'tei kashofar, Halleluhu b'nevel v'chinor, Halleluhu b'tov umachol. I loved the excitement of those rhythms, but really that comes from the excitement of the text and the way the inflection of the text, the way the rhythm of the words comes to be. So that's part of it. Any tricks that I have? Look, that syncopated rhythm, we're all part of, a musical style that has great syncopation in many different ways. Justice shall roll down like the water. It's the first time I tried to write something that had a little bit of a gospel feel to it. But where the rhythm was really interesting for me was ukaratem dor, ukaratem dor, ukaratem dor, proclaim liberty. It's all in the text. So what is really a gift for me is to play with the text, but not just for the sense of the music, but really for a deeper sense of bringing the words to life, making them clear, making them comprehensible, giving them the energy that, to me, I hear that they evoke, that those words bring out.
We have a question from Don Powers. Don, go ahead. Don? You're pushing unmute.
Did it go now?
Now you're good.
Hi, thank you so much, Cantor. It was beautiful. I was just curious, where you celebrate the Shabbat at a shul, please?
About where I celebrate Shabbat?
Yeah, you Cantor at a shul. Thank you.
In fact, what you're seeing in the backdrop right now is Beit Am Shalom Synagogue. This is the Beit Midrash. It's the small chapel and study room that my husband and I have been leading the tefillot by Zoom and live stream ever since the social distancing and the pandemic. This is in White Plains, New York. It's a Reconstructionist synagogue. Some members of the community are here with us this evening. I haven't seen all the people here, but White Plains, New York, I'm proud to be the cantor of this great community.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It was so beautiful. Thanks. Baruch Hashem.
We have a question from Ricky Lippitz. Who were the composers that influenced you?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Love that question. I don't want to take too long in my answer, but I'm going to start by saying my favorite composers, I have to start with Beethoven, and then I might go all the way to Leonard Bernstein, but also Mozart and Bach and Stravinsky and Copland. But I'm then going to go right to Sondheim, the Beatles, James Taylor, Carole King, Simon and Garfunkel, and I'm going to travel also to Kochko, Alter, Helfman, Bloch, Binder, Steinberg, Debbie Friedman, Shlomo Karlebach, Yonatan Razel, Naomi Shemer, the Jewish voices in my head. So I'm just been bequeathed, and we all have so many rich, beautiful traditions. That Petri Lee, the last piece you heard, the love song, Let Me In, My Lover, My Home. I wrote that while we were in the Berkshires vacationing, and as I wrote the tune, Les, I remember saying to me, boy, I think that Mahler concert really got to you. The soaring line that doesn't stop, that kind of transcends almost to the edge of tonality. And so I was trying in my very amateur way to evoke a little bit of Mahler.
Well, I had a question about what inspired your harmony, but I think you basically just answered it. Let me just say, I love your sense of harmony is just beautiful. It makes me happy.
No, it's interesting, if I may, Lori, just to say one thing. Can I jump in? So as a pianist, what's a trick for me is trying to, how can I put this into words? I can be seduced by the harmony. And my challenge as a composer of vocal music, whether it's melody or chant, is to make sure the horizontal movement of the line takes predominance, and sometimes can be too bogged down by all the chords and the richness and the lushness of the harmony. So I struggle with a temptation to over-harmonize. And I want to, and to bog down the music a little bit too much. And also, I don't want to always write in a major key. I'm still trying to find my modal voice, and not always need to make a beautiful, happy ending with a little ribbon on top.
Thank you. We have a question, it looks like, from Rabbi Nancy Weiner about when you started writing your music.
The first piece I wrote, I was in high school, and the boy I had a crush on, and who took me to the junior prom, ditched me, and I was so furious. And I wrote, if I had a penny for all the times you hurt me, I'd be a millionaire. That was my first piece. And it came out of a rage of anger. And the really fun part of this story was
it has a real, like, mid-century Broadway feel to it, I think.
If I had a penny for all the times you hurt me, I'd be a millionaire. I can't play it anymore. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, the first Jewish piece I wrote is a setting of Yehi Ratzon, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart. My brother Steve, whom I talked about earlier, when he became bar mitzvah, I wrote this piece at the age of 15 for that bar mitzvah. piece. That was my first significant piece, May the Words of My Mouth.
Wow. It looks like Rebbe Soul has a question. Rebbe Soul.
Yeah, hi. I first thank you very much for these wonderful arrangements and sharing these experiences. It's beautiful stuff. I just was wondering. You've obviously got quite a track record here, and you've done a lot of different things. And I'm wondering now where you see choral music might be heading, or maybe more significantly, where would you like it to go? Like, what do you see that perhaps hasn't been done so much yet, or at all, and you'd like to see it go in that direction, or some people to explore that?
Wow, what a beautiful question. Especially at this time when choral music is just, what can I say? We can't do it. And so we do whatever we can with recordings and tricks to make it happen. I will say that I'm a groupie of the North American Jewish Choral Festival and that whole movement. Choir singing is such an important role in my life. And the room I'm sitting in right now at Beit Shalom is the rehearsal space for Shirat Ha'am, the choir of our synagogue. And one of the answers I think I would offer to your question is that in about a month from now, Shirat Ha'am would be sitting in this room, starting to get ready for the High Holy Days by learning the few pieces we'll be singing in the service of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur for the community. And I've realized over time that it's not the performance of the pieces in the service, but it's the music and the joining together in singing sacred words and sounds together that prepares each of us for the High Holy Days, that the music itself becomes a kavanah. So music as a sense of community that choirs can evoke for all of us. New directions for choirs. Well, one thing I would say is that in the style of tefillah, of prayer of today, sometimes choirs get a bad rap because we're thought of as too performative, too frontal. And my colleague and dear friend Mary Lovinger-Arian, among others, has done many wonderful, a lot of thinking and wonderful work in this area of how to bring the choir into the community, have the choir be part of the community, and the community become part of the choir. And one of the ways to do that is that the choir can become a vessel of teaching the congregation a new tune. That's one way. Another way is my volunteer choir at Beit Shalom. You don't have to audition to get in. Anyone who loves music and wants to sing and wants to be part of a musical community just joins. So that inclusiveness and that welcomeness is part of the choral experience. Those are just some beginnings of answers. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like that might be it for questions. Do we see anyone else have any last questions, burning questions? Want to put them in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself.
Benjie, are you up to playing one more song?
I would like to ask one question.
Go ahead.
I know you talked about Beget Kefet before. The only member of Beget Kefet that I can see is Chazan Ricky Lippitz. Is there anybody else in this group that is from Beget Kefet? Leon Scher? And who else?
Les Bronstein?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Again, I want to tell you, your music is beautiful and your voice is gorgeous.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I want to say one more thing about choral music. Forgive me. one of my teachers is Eleanor Epstein, who's the conductor of Azamrah in Washington, D.C. When Eleanor conducts and when she performs with her choir, what's clear is that the singing is less about a performance per se and more about an expression of prayer, of praise, of life, and the organic nature of the way she teaches and the way the music comes, expressing the text in the way that it does has been a real motivator for me in my own writing. So she's a great teacher for any of you who are interested in devoting yourself more to choral music. Find a way to study with Eleanor Epstein. Real mentor for me. So one last song. I hadn't prepared one, but I'll sing something. Do we have time?
Sure.
So this is a blessing from Masechet Brachot in the Talmud. Olamcha tir'eh b'chayecha. May you live to see your world fulfilled. An English translation from the Aramaic and Hebrew by Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, and a blessing to use for anyone at any time. This was in my life song cycle, particularly for a bar or bat mitzvah. May you live to see your world fulfilled. I offer this tonight for all of you.
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come. May you trust in generations past and yet to be. May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your eyes shine with the light of holy words, and your face reflect the brightness of heaven. May your lips ever speak wisdom, your fulfillment be in justice, even as you ever yearn to listen to the words of Lord, the Ancient One of all. May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come. May you trust in generations past and yet to be. May you live to see your world. May you live to see your world. May you live to see your world.
I think with that, we can all, anyone who feels comfortable, feel free to unmute yourself for a real applause.
Yay, bravo, Yasher Koach.
Oh,
Yasher Koach.
Yasher Koach. We love you, Benji.
Awesome.
Thank you, Benji.
Thank you, Benji, so much.
Thank you, Benji.
Thank you, Benji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ava Benji. Beautiful.
Glorious, just glorious.
Glorious.
Toda rabah.
Great job, Mom.
Hey. Bye.
both are here.
Well, stay safe, and thank you again.
Thank you, Benji.
So much, Benji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benji, and thank you for the encore.
Yes, it was such a pleasure to hear your voice.